Hi guys, thanks for tuning in to another video on ForgottenWeapons.com. I'm Ian McCullum and I'm here today at the Rock Island Auction Company taking a look at some of the guns that they are going to be selling in their upcoming December of 2017 premiere auction. And what we have today is an interesting sporter rifle, except that it's a cool technological step forward on the basis of what was originally, apparently, a Mauser 1871 receiver. Now, this rifle was built with a whole bunch of bells and whistles. It's got express sights, it's got a flip-up tang sight. Most interestingly, it has a box magazine on it, which is something that the Mauser 1871 never had. The 1871 was a single-shot design, and it was ultimately replaced in German military service by the 1871/84, which added a tubular magazine under the barrel. They tested some experimental box magazine designs, but never actually adopted one. Well, what we have here is a custom-made sporting rifle where the guy who commissioned it clearly said, I want the best of what's available right now. I would like a box magazine on this. And the gunsmith, a Carl Gebert of Munich, went ahead and built that for him. So it's a really interesting mechanical, well, ahead of the military rifles at this particular stage. Let's go ahead and take a closer look. We know this was Carl Gebert from Munich because he was thoughtful enough to sign the rifle for us. You'll notice that the first initial is a C. Prior to 1920, some of the German spellings were not necessarily entirely formalized, and you'll find both C and K for Carl. Now we also have a couple of proof marks here, a crown V right there, the same thing right here on the bolt. These don't exactly give us a date, but they do tell us that this was manufactured before 1893, which also makes sense given the 1871 Mauser receiver. This is a rather distinctive style of action between the cocking piece back here and the screw in the bolt. This one has been made with a nice custom flattened out bent spoon-shaped bolt handle there. And when we open it, we can see that we have the follower for a box magazine. In fact, on the bottom, I can push this button and open up the bottom of the magazine, and you can see the spring, the flat spring down here that gives some impetus to the follower. I suspect this was probably a 3-round magazine. The rifle is chambered, well, the bore is 50 caliber. Exactly what 50 caliber cartridge, I'm not sure. Something German and sporty from probably the 1880s. In addition to just having a magazine, the guy who commissioned this rifle apparently also wanted to have a magazine cutoff, this being the fancy technology of the time. So we have this sliding plate here, which is going to rotate down and protrude through right above my finger, right there on the opposite side of the receiver. And when it slides down, it's going to rotate into here and come to rest on top of the cartridges, thus preventing the bolt from picking them up. Now, it is stuck in place at the moment. I think it needs a bit of oil, maybe being pulled out of the stock and cleaned up a bit for that cutoff to work, but it's pretty obvious how it's supposed to work with the slot right down there. So have the magazine in reserve and fire the rifle as a single loader until, I don't know what, until perhaps you're on a boar hunt and you need to take a bunch of quick shots in rapid succession. Moving along for some other bells and whistles on the rifle, we have double set triggers here. The idea there is you can fire the rifle by pulling the front trigger, and it's actually got a pretty darn nice trigger pull. Not bad at all. However, if that's not good enough, recock the action, you can also pull the rear trigger, which has a very long and heavy pull. Right there. You heard it click. What that does is set the front trigger, and it makes the front trigger into legitimately what could be called a hair trigger. And so the merest pressure on it fires the rifle. That's a technology that is still in use today. It's a way to have a trigger that's heavy enough to be safe, but also have an option for how you can make it a very, very light trigger if you want that sort of thing for very precise shooting. Got some fancy scroll work back here on the back of the grip. And then, in order to make best use of that set trigger, we have a tang-mounted aperture sight. If I can get it. There we go. We can flip that up. And now you have something that is a little more precise to use and has double the sight radius of your express sights. You'll notice there's a hole in the center of this piece, and it can be slid back and forth to 0 for windage. No way to adjust the elevation on this sight, although you could replace the front sight with different heights in order to properly zero it for elevation. If you don't want to use that tang sight, there are a pair of express leaf sights right there. So just V notches. You have one in the front for longer range, probably either 100 or 200, and a short range one here, which is probably either 100 or 50 meters. And the front sight has a nice brass bead on the front and can be drifted left and right for windage. You'll notice this is serrated to prevent glare. This really is a rifle that has all the bells and whistles. Gebert would continue to make a lot of guns after this. He lived until 1917 and made a wide variety of firearms. Schützens, Martinis, obviously Mauser-based sporting rifles. Was really a great all-around gunsmith. So it's pretty cool to see not just a well-made sporting rifle, but one that has some interesting technological features to it as well. So if you'd like to have this one yourself, take a look at the description text below, and you'll find a link to Rock Island's catalog page on this rifle. You can take a look at their pictures, description, price estimate, and so on. And if you decide you'd like to have it, you can place a bid right there through their website. Thanks for watching.